You did mention in an earlier answer about the crisis of confidence when it comes to polling. So I guess just as the leader of, an academic center focused on polling, I just love to hear your retort for when people say something along the lines of, the polls are always wrong, the polls don't matter, the
Yeah.
polls were wrong in 2016, they were wrong in
Yeah.
2018, wrong in so-and-so election. What's the academic pollster's response to complaints like that?
So I think this is a really complicated question, right? And there's a lot of different answers here. So, to the extent that the polling was off in 2016 and 2020, I mean, they're off at the national level to some extent, but a lot more of the myths that, people care about, which is, calling it wrong, let's say in 2016, happened at the state and local level. And so, that's something we're trying to be a part of a solution to is doing better polling at the state and local level. Because national polls, generally aren't all that off. The errors aren't that bad historically. So I would say, that's one thing. The other thing I would point out is that, polling might be off sometimes when it comes to predicting election outcomes, but that's only one facet of what survey methodology and polling of the public is all about. And just because, we might not pick up, enough voters for one particular candidate and be missing that doesn't mean that all the data is wrong because it crosses, people, when we're asking about, let's say, health issues, right? That's not necessarily going to be a biased sample, perhaps, right? If we're going to understand what the health concerns of the population are, right? Or when we talk about things like preparedness for emergencies, emergency preparedness among residents, that's not necessarily going to be something. If it's off with, let's say, predicting a particular electoral outcome, it might not be off when it comes to that. And so we're interested in a much broader set of questions and issues than just who's going to win an election. And so I think we want to get it right in the election stuff, the electoral stuff, absolutely. But I think there's lots of stuff that we can get right, even if the electoral stuff is a little bit off from time to time, and that information we're collecting has value. And again, I think something we're going to be working on is ensuring that our polling is as accurate as can be in the 21st century. I mean, communication has changed a lot. It's not as easy it is to get representative samples as it was 30, 40 years ago when you had random digit dialing, which was the gold standard for polling. Everyone had a landline in their household and picked it up before caller ID. It was really easy to get good representative samples. These days that's not the case, and it's much harder to reach folks and get people to respond and take surveys now. But we want to be innovative in the way we do this to ensure that our sampling is and our polling overall is as accurate as can be.